Welcome to this OMS tutorial on how to create a walk-forward correlation. The process to create the WFC metrics is really simple as long as you follow a few simple guidelines. Because the walk-forward correlation effectively uses in-sample data and out-of-sample data to look at how the whole optimization surface behaves, you'll need to run two separate optimizations to collect the data. They have to be run in a specific order, so the first optimization has to be using your in-sample data, and the second optimization must be using the data you've defined as being your out-of-sample data set. And if you remember, in your OMS settings, you have these start dates defined here. One for in-sample, out-of-sample, hold-out, and pre-live. And so the two that we're interested in for the purposes of creating a walk-forward correlation are the first two. So it's really important that you get these dates correct for the data that you intend to use. So you don't necessarily have to use these dates. You can use whatever you define as being your in-sample and your out-of-sample data timeframes. And so if you set your required dates here and then use those dates when you start an optimization, OMS will be able to detect whether you're running on your in-sample or your out-of-sample data. Now, up until this point, before walk-forward correlation was implemented into OMS, those dates were only used to output this description on the backtests and optimizations that you ran. It wasn't used for any other reason, but that has now changed with walk-forward correlation. These are now functional dates that will change the way that OMS works, and so it's much more important now that you get the dates correct than it was in the previous version of OMS. So for me, for example, I use 9 years worth of data for my in-sample, which goes from 2010 to 2019. And so by setting those right here, the start date is already correct, and 2019. So that now matches my correct in-sample period of time, and OMS, because we've set those values here, will be able to detect that this is my in-sample optimization that I'm performing. A couple more things to note here. Don't be tempted to try to run the in-sample and the out-of-sample together by using the forward option. The way that MetaTrader 5 works is that it will run all parameter combinations for the in-sample, but then for the out-of-sample, it won't. It will only run the parameter combinations that it deemed performed the best. And that's really bad actually for walk-forward correlation analysis, because it will give you a very skewed view, and actually a very optimistic view, because only the parameter sets that performed well will be plotted on the walk-forward correlation chart. You won't see any of the poor performing parameter sets. So you won't see the entire picture, and your analysis will be biased towards those good performing parameters, which is not what you want. You want an accurate picture of the entire parameter sets that you're testing. So make sure you keep this set to no. Another requirement is that you must use the slow complete algorithm. OptimiStrategy does support the fast genetic based algorithm, but again, the problem with this is that MT5 will not run all parameter combinations. It uses the genetic algorithm to decide which parameter sets to run and which not to run. And inevitably, of course, when you run your in-sample optimization and your out-of-sample optimization, it's going to make different decisions about which parameter sets it will actually perform the backtests on. And that means they then won't match when we come to perform the walk-forward correlation. So, to summarize, you need to run two separate optimizations. The first one will use your in-sample dataset. The second will use your out-of-sample dataset. So for me, I'd be changing the start date to 2019 and the end date to 2022 here for my out-of-sample. Keep the forward setting on no and the optimization setting on slow complete algorithm. And if you run both of those optimizations consecutively in that correct order, you'll then see two optimizations in the OMS dashboard, the in-sample one and the out-of-sample one. And on the out-of-sample optimization, you'll see this button here, Walk Forward Correlation. This button will automatically appear if you've done everything correctly. Clicking on that opens up the Walk Forward Correlation screen, and you can go ahead and perform your analysis. We have created a separate video that takes you through the different elements of the Walk Forward Correlation framework. So I strongly suggest that you watch that before trying to interpret the data. The two main aspects are quadrant analysis, where we're looking at the share of parameter sets and how they're distributed across the four quadrants. You also get some metrics here in order to help you interpret that. And the second aspect is predictive power analysis, where this looks at the correlation between the performance of the in-sample dataset and the performance of the out-of-sample dataset. And the reason this is so important is that the higher the correlation, the more confidence you can have that selecting a high-performing parameter set from your in-sample optimization will produce high performance in your out-of-sample. Now, there really is quite a lot to take in with walk-forward correlation, especially in terms of how you interpret the information. And so to help, we've added this dialogue section to every walk-forward correlation screen. And this provides guidance in terms of what the results you're seeing actually mean. And I'd really recommend you go through this in detail, and eventually you'll learn how to perform the analysis completely on your own using the data that's provided. But until you get to that point, this narrative section here on the bottom right is really useful as an educational tool to help you get to that stage. That's it. Follow those simple rules and you'll be able to create and analyze your first walk-forward correlation. Note that we will be adding a couple of other videos to the walk-forward correlation playlist in YouTube, and these will be focused around specific case studies. So we'll take a couple of our strategies that we've created walk-forward correlations for, and talk you through step by step how we would interpret that data, what it means in terms of implications for trading those strategies, again, to try to get our customers up to speed with how to interpret and analyze the data. So keep an eye out for those new videos, and if you subscribe to the channel, you'll be notified when they're available. And so until next time, enjoy using walk-forward correlation.